continue for your mom, Connie. I know the Take Two family are all still praying, and I know you want them to continue to pray.
Yes, absolutely. And so that's kind of like in the news, folks. That's happening in the Giorgiani household, right? But we're really talking about in the news. This is our monthly show where we talk about anything that's going on in the news, the world news, the local news, regional news, news in your own backyard, your parish news, whatever. It's in the news. If you have something you want to bring up and you want to talk about, you want to ask questions about something about the faith, anything that's going on with the church, the Vatican, whatever. This is the time to do it. But you can't sit this out. You can't just listen. We want you to participate because that's what Take Two is all about. We are a family. We all jump in together. So please dial in and share something in the news that has either bothered you or you want to talk about. All you got to do is dial this number. Rich Jesse is waiting to answer your call at 833-288-3986.
Okay, well, Debbie set that up pretty well. Now all it takes is you calling that number, 833-288-3986. You may email us, take2@EWTN.com, if there's something that you would like to share in the news and you can't quite break away to get to the telephone. You can also text the letters EWTN to 55000. Wait for a response. There might be a small data rate, but put in your comments there. You can post on the show website at take2show.com. And those of you watching on YouTube and Facebook, hello to you. And we have Charles Beery monitoring your social media comments today. Rich Jesse is on the phone. So let's fill those phone lines up. First show back for Debbie after preparing for and sending her mother into eternity at her funeral yesterday. So if you'd like to be a part of this broadcast, what has caught your eye in the news? 833-288-3986.
Jerry, I just have to tell you something kind of like in the news, and I bet people are experiencing this, so we could kind of, weave this into in the news show today. But yesterday during my mom's funeral, like I said, there was only, just a handful of us there and the musicians and the sacristan and folks like that for the liturgical service. But as you know, I'm under the weather and I'm battling a few different things. So I have this very raspy kind of continuous cough. And I have to tell you, it was so hard because I'm trying to hold back the cough because there's hardly anybody in the church. And as soon as you start coughing, what happens now with COVID, right? All heads turn to you, looking at you saying, do you have COVID? So I almost wanted to stand up and said, no, I'm fine. I was tested. I don't have COVID. But does anybody else, folks, do you feel that way? Like very self-conscious? Like if you cough or sneeze, all of a sudden all heads and all eyes are on you, right? It's a little interesting. Has that ever happened to you at the parish, Jerry? Because I know, because you drink water and sometimes you will cough a little bit too. So yeah, what do you think? What do you think about that?
I don't know. I mean, I was at Mass this morning and I had to sneeze a couple times. Yeah. And I thought the same thing. I thought, oh, you're so very self-conscious nowadays. Right. It's funny though. I wonder what people are thinking about me. But when somebody else coughs or sneezes, I don't think for a second that they have COVID or anything like that. My mind doesn't go to that place when it's somebody else. But when it's me, I think all of a sudden, oh man, what are people thinking right now?
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. We're kind of in strange times, and I think that you're going to see those who really take their faith seriously and live out their faith, and then others are going to kind of succumb to fear and really be driven by that. I noticed this morning, I caught up on the news. I don't know if that was such a good thing, but I did that for the purposes of preparation for the show, Jerry. And I was like, oh, wow. Every single news piece, everything, every blurb on TV or on the internet, it's all fear, 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 fear. I mean, it's tough. It is. We're living in a tough world right now.
It is really going downhill fast, it seems like. But there's a lot of reason to be hopeful, too. And we hope that our conversations here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie contribute to your sense of well-being, your joy, your peace, and so forth. And remember, it's your show. You are the one who makes it happen with your phone calls at 833-288-3986. It's our In the News show. We do this once a month, and we just invite you to kind of scan the news headlines and see whatever catches your attention, something that maybe startles you, disappoints you, upsets you, maybe makes you feel joyful. Like Debbie said earlier, it could be world news, national news, local news, city news, church news, anything going on regarding the church and the faith. There's just a lot to talk about in the news today on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Here is the number again. Join Matthew and Shannon, who are already on the line, at 833-288-3986.
Brian Patrick and a panel of international contributors showcase the universality of Catholicism.
Each week on the Catholic Sphere, we connect with EWTN contributors from different parts of the world. Each, I think, has a unique perspective on issues of concern for all of us as Catholics. It reminds us that we're really a universal church. Christ called all of us to be his disciples.
The Catholic Sphere, Sunday afternoon, 2:30 Eastern on EWTN Radio.
Father Benedict Groeschel.
I must tell you that from what I observe from very young people, all of these blasphemers, all of these mockers are in for a tough time. Because the devil bites his own tail. And I find among young people a growing reverence and longing for God. I find a decline in the cynicism and skepticism around it, because it had to destroy itself. No one can live on being an enemy of God. It's too crazy, it's too absurd, it's too dark, it's too bleak. God is beautiful, God is holy. Why in the world mock God?
EWTN. Live truth. Live.
Well, this is your show. It's Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. And this is our monthly In the News show. It's very, very popular. You got to get in quickly. We don't do part twos on any of these monthly, specialized shows like In the News. So we go fast. So please call in at 833-288-3986. And Rich Jesse will happily answer your call. But just real quickly before we get to the calls, Jerry, if I may, EWTN offers the Holy Sacrifice of the Mass. We were just talking about the powerful Mass of Our Lady, from Our Lady of the Angels Chapel live every day at 8 a.m. Eastern, right after the Sunrise Morning Show. So to be sure you don't miss out, we can send a link to your email inbox every day. All you have to do is visit EWTN.com and click on subscribe. I've done it. I love it. You know what? I just love that EWTN has our backs when it comes to our Mass. We are a sacramental church, folks. This is amazing. And we have Catholic radio and television. It doesn't get any better than that, Jerry.
You're right. Wow, I've got the frog now.
I gave it to you.
But
I gave
Debbie
the
and I,
Arizona frog
played-
back to California.
We play ping pong with that frog. 833-288-3986, our monthly In the News show. What would you like to discuss? Anything that you have seen, heard, or read in the news lately? 833-288-3986. We'll go to Shannon in Sandy, Utah, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Shannon. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. How are you?
Doing well today. Hope that you are too.
Yeah. This was the first time I've even listened to your program, and I was driving down the street, and I was so affected by what, Debbie, you said, how beautiful your mother's funeral was in Mesa.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother in Wyoming, she was passed away, and she was had our Mass in this old church where we were all married, all baptized, funerals, everything. She was a pillar of the community. Everybody was there. But the priest was very nonchalant. He was very ambivalent. We wanted him to talk about some of the things that she did, and he was more like, whatever that is what he actually said in the Mass. And it was just, I'm still grieving that loss of my mother because I think she deserved more. So I was so happy for you, and I was thinking, well, why couldn't that priest have been like all priests should,
Right.
And I feel very sad about that now.
Well, let me comment on that, Shannon, because my sister and I talked about that. We actually did. My sister's very involved in the church. She's the president of the pastoral council, and you know, of course, I've been in ministry for many, many years at the parish level, and we talked about that. We talked about the priests that are at the funerals that know the deceased and those that don't. And when you really don't know them personally that well, there should be some preparation time involved prior to the funeral, so that it does become personal for the family members and beautiful, and so you can feel very connected. I think it's. And I will tell you though, Shannon, because I worked for over 25 years at the parish level. Because funerals are happening on such a regular basis, it does happen that way, where the priest sometimes the priest can kind of, it almost seems like autopilot. You know, they've done the funeral service so many times that they go into autopilot. It's very unfortunate. And that's why I always tell families, you know, make sure you have a beautiful, like the rosary service or the viewing before the funeral mass, that way you can connect and maybe some people can speak and say things, and afterwards do more of the personal touches about your mother and how precious she was and her personality and everything. Because I think if you do that prior to the funeral service, then the funeral service, and then something after, it does make it where you feel like, wow, that felt good. You know, I mean, we lost our mother, I understand that, but it felt good to connect. So I feel my heart goes out to you, because that, I agree with you 100%. I've seen families walk out of funeral services and they just look like, wow, that was kind of, it didn't feel right. And so that's
Right.
unfortunate. Yeah. I would say to the priests that are listening right now, or deacons, please, you know, prepare. And like the Monsignor that did my mother's service, he asked, you know, he knew her very well because he knew her for years, but you know, he has to refresh some details about her. And I sent him a 2-page personal, you know, detailed list about my mother and and the family and everything. And he read it all and prepared. So that effort, I think, goes a long way. And that's what you're saying,
It
Shannon.
does.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, we did do that. We did meet with the priest.
Oh.
And that's what's upsetting to me, is that, as she was, you know, very well known, and he just seemed like this is another walk through the park. Very distant from what we actually sat down with him for 2 hours and talked with him. And I think that's the sad part. And this didn't just happen. This was back in, you know, 2014, and I'm still having a hard time with this.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, how do you get over that? Because you can't do it over, you know?
Well, can I make a suggestion? You actually, you can. I would get the family together, or extended family, and if you can't all be together in the same location, maybe do a gigantic, you know, call, a Zoom call or conference call, and I would have like a memorial type service for your mom, and maybe ask a deacon or a priest that can make it a little bit more, you know, spiritually deep for your family. I would do it on an anniversary. Absolutely, Shannon. You should, because you weren't left with what you needed about making sure you honored your mother in a beautiful way, because she was so well loved and known. And you should absolutely do that. We have an opportunity to do that on anniversaries or special occasions, or maybe her birthday or something of that nature. I would get creative and organize something. That's what I would do.
Okay, that's good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, and I'm so sorry for your mother and your loss. And
Oh,
God
thank
be
you.
with you.
Thank you. You too. You
Goodbye.
too. Keep me posted.
Thanks,
Let me
Shannon.
know. Let me know if you decide to do something. I'd be curious, because I'm sure others will be asking the same thing.
All right. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, God
Thank
bless.
you.
My only real experience with preparing in depth for a funeral was for my sister Mary, and she had not been going to church for 45 years, so I was kind of in a pickle. She had no registered parish or anything, and thanks be to God, I knew. I'm friends with the pastor, one of the parishes in her town, that is Bremerton, Washington, Our Lady Star of the Sea Parish, Father Derek Lappy, and he was actually away on retreat, and so he couldn't do the funeral, but the deacon did meet with us, and like you said, Debbie, he took all those notes and he wove all of that into the homily. And I just thought, this is just amazing. And so I'm equally sorry for Shannon's experience, but I love your suggestion. Do something, get the family together, kind of close that loop, because it sounds like it's really still a little bit raw, and hopefully something like that could really bring closure to that situation.
Absolutely. And bring in clergy, bring in a deacon or religious, just have that spiritual component there. I think it's beautiful. Jerry, real quickly, your sister, where was she laid to rest?
In Seattle.
In Seattle, is near your
Mount
mother?
Calvary Cemetery. Yeah, right near our mother, and a lot of other family members, and my uncle the priest is buried there as well.
Okay. Wow, these are really good calls coming in. We're talking about in the news today. So if you have something you want to ask or share, or something that's on your mind or heart, and you want to talk about it, now's the time to do it at 833-288-3986. Where are we going?
Okay, Matthew is up next. Thanks for your patience, Matthew, in Edgerton, Ohio, listening on Sirius XM 130. Welcome, Matthew.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So, my question, again, revolves around COVID. And specifically, I'm having a really hard time understanding the church's stance on the vaccination when I read, magazines such as Catholic Answers Live, where, as an example, a lady calls in and says that she has a condition that doesn't allow her to really get pregnant very easily, and she could have a condition, and, would it be okay to use contraception? And Catholic Answers immediately came back and said, no, you cannot do any evil, no matter what, for the betterment of good. So now we have these COVID vaccines, in which all of them were initially started with aborted stem cells, and somehow that evil is justified as being good for the greater good of humanity. I don't understand that. Mm-hmm. It's either bad and evil, or it's not. And in this case, all these vaccines came from evil, and yet the Pope is sitting here going, it's okay to get it. In fact, he's urging people to get it. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand that.
Well, Matthew, what I would like to do is defer to the National Catholic Bioethics Center. It's an amazing organization doing very important work. We're living in times where ethical issues have arisen and continue to arise, which weren't factors 20, 30 years ago, let alone, when the Bible was written, or the earliest church, fathers gave us, the teachings of the church. But the National Catholic Bioethics Center says this on their website: it is clear from it is clear from Catholic Church guidance that people may discern in conscience to use any of the ethically problematic vaccines offered in the United States, because no good alternatives are available to ones that utilize abortion-derived cell lines in one or more phases of production and testing. It says, no one accepting the vaccines had any meaningful role in the abortions that were exploited to create abortion-derived cell lines. This fact, along with the grave dangers to life and health posed by COVID-19, prompted the Vatican and U.S. bishops to clarify that some people may use available vaccines with a clear conscience, but with the duty to express their opposition to the use of abortion-derived cell lines and to call for alternatives as quickly as possible. And then they have a link to some sample protest letters from the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. So as the National Catholic Bioethics Center says, it's weighing, like they say, the grave health dangers, dangers to life and health. And the fact that these, there's a distinction made in Catholic moral theology between proximate cause and remote. And this is very, very remote, and I agree with you, definitely, Matthew. I would not want to receive a vaccine if I didn't have to that was from abortion-derived cell lines. And everybody is certainly free and welcome to make such a decision, but the Vatican, the U.S. bishops, and the National Catholic Bioethics Center, whom I really respect tremendously, have said that a person can, in conscience, receive that because they were very far removed from the act of the abortions. I don't know if that pleases you or gives you any more peace of mind about that or not. But what do you think?
Our tenet for our Catholic faith is pretty black and white. You can't do evil for good, so it doesn't really matter. But to follow up that is the fact that, and I'd like to hear your response, and I'll just hang up, is the fact that this is coming from a pope who has now come out and publicly stated he doesn't believe that the Ten Commandments are absolute. So at this point, I don't really think anything the guy says has anything to do with church dogma, because if he can come out and say that, why would I listen to him anymore? So if you could expound on that while I listen, that would be great.
Well, before you
go ahead,
may I say something? Before you go, Matthew, don't leave yet. I just want to say something. I spoke to a very dear friend of mine who's a tremendous respected priest, and I really admire him. He's worked all over the world, actually, and I wanted to say, Matthew, I think in these times when, like Jerry was sharing, and even from the statement from the bioethics, website and stuff, I think we have to follow our conscience. I think we have to have a well-formed conscience, and then we need to follow our conscience. I think we're at that point in this world where if like you were sharing so passionately, you know what is right, you know what the church teaches, the tenets of the faith. We are very black and white when it comes to things we believe in. We're like an all or nothing, church, and we stay the course. I think at this time we're in a very unique, confusing, times of not knowing what's going to happen in the future. We've got to follow our conscience. And that's why Jerry and I are so passionate about making sure everybody is fully formed in the faith, re-catechized, know their faith, and then they stay the course. That's what I'm doing, Matthew. And I have a lot of spiritual advisors and directors around me. And I kind of reinforce what the church teaches, and I get solid in following my conscience. Does that help at all, Matthew, before we let you go? And I know Jerry had something to say.
Sure. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Matthew. Actually, I'm just going to pass on the comments about the Pope and the Ten Commandments. That is, it's something that is between, we all have to take what the Pope says, and if he's saying the Ten Commandments are not, absolute or anything like that, well, we know that they are. So the Pope has made a mistake there. So,
or it could be his opinion,
Yeah, yeah, and it's the Pope is infallible on questions of faith and morals. And and if he has made a comment like that, Matthew, I appreciate your call. I just simply am not going to go there right now, partially for the sake of time, partially because we have a lot of other callers, and partially because, first of all, I am not intimately familiar with what he said. I would ask you to
either.
Yeah, I would invite you to call EWTN's Open Line program every day at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. Call Catholic Answers Live. It's a Thursday. They have 2 hours of open forum Q&A today. So, Matthew, thanks for your call from Ohio. We appreciate that. In the news, on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie, that line is available at 833-288-3986. Please join us.
The heavy hitters of Catholic radio are on the new EWTN Open Line. Join Father Brian Mullady Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern, exclusively on EWTN Radio.
I'm Doug Keck. This is an EWTN Bookmark Brief. Just had the pleasure of speaking with Austin Ruse about his latest book, Under Siege, No Finer Time to Be a Faithful Catholic, published by Crisis Publications, available naturally through the EWTN Religious Catalog, EWTNRC.com. Under Siege, No Finer Time to Be a Faithful Catholic. What's this book about, Austin?
I begin with the school prayer decisions, quite frankly, in 1962-63, where the federal government, that is the Supreme Court, determined that the object and purpose of government had to be secular. And this is a part of the Bible reading case in 1963. What followed almost immediately was the contraception decisions, Roe v. Wade, gay marriage, the sodomy decisions, and this is now imposed through the federal government all the way down to the local grade school where we live. So I argue in the book that there's a newly established religion. It's not ours, but they are coming for us.
Under Siege, No Finer Time to Be a Faithful Catholic. Austin Ruse is the author, available through our EWTN Religious Catalog. I'm Doug Keck. This has been a Bookmark Brief. We appreciate you stopping by. See you next time.
I am a very happy, grateful revert to the faith. About 12 years ago, I was surfing the channels and I found EWTN. I didn't even know it existed, and I heard Mother and remembered that years ago I had told a Catholic nun at a church in Boston that I was visiting that I missed the faith, and she said, "You will come back." And when I was listening to Mother Angelica, I remembered that.
EWTN, communicating the faith.
Hi, this is Janet Williams. We embrace the essence of feminine spirituality on Women of Grace tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern here on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and Debbie.
We're so happy that you've joined us here on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie and you. It is your program. You drive the show. We got Michael Birchfield, our producer, on the controls. Charles Beery is monitoring your social media comments. We have a few of those we'll try to get to here shortly. And Rich Jesse is answering your calls at 833-288-3986 as we talk about really pretty much anything that you have seen, read, or heard in the news that you would like to bring up. Again, it's 833-288-3986.
Do we have social media coming in? Do you see that?
Yeah, we have a few. Michael J., who's watching on YouTube.
Yes.
He was listening to our conversation about coughing and sneezing in public and what people might think. He says, "We saw a lady sneeze in Target, and she immediately loudly announced, 'It's allergies. I promise I don't have COVID.'"
I know.
So
I know. That's what I wanted to do, Michael. But I didn't think it was appropriate to yell it out during the funeral. So we're getting a lot of nice comments. Thanks, you guys. Don't forget Quincy. Let's get Quincy because Quincy's in Jamaica. You see
Quincy says, "Good morning, Jerry and Debbie. I'm listening from Kingston, Jamaica. Although I'm from the Cayman Islands, today we thank God for sparing our lives as Tropical Storm Grace passed by." And he says, in the news today, Jamaica received a shipment of one of the vaccines from the USA. He says, Grand Cayman is today cleaning up after the storm, some without electricity. So we pray for them.
Yeah, and let's not forget the folks in Haiti as well.
Yeah, in Afghanistan.
And then remember Afghanistan. I mean, there's so much that we need to be praying for around the clock, folks. Okay, we're going to go back to the phones, and Rocco is up next in Scranton, Pennsylvania, listening on JMJ Radio by Alexa. Hi, Rocco. Welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great to be on. This is my first time calling. And
welcome.
I just want to, thank you. I heard that thing how you were saying about coughing and sneezing. And that's how I feel. Now, I feel for a reason because I didn't get my shot and I don't intend to get it. And I feel like I'm like the only one. I mean, I do have a sister in Florida and I have a niece and her daughter in Jersey that also didn't get it. And I have friends in New York that didn't get it. But I'm here and I feel like my whole family got it. My wife got it. All her kids got it and my kids got it. And it's like I'm on the outs. And so that's why I feel I think it's evil. That's my own thing. This is my own. Something's bothering me about it. And now when I go to confessions, some priests get it, and some priests haven't gotten it. I feel good when I go to a place where, they give me confession. They says, well, I agree with you. I didn't get mine. Don't get it done. I went to my doctor. Two of my doctors didn't get it. So I mean that makes me feel good. And I did go to the frontline doctors, and they send you something. My mind's going to be bad in I think March. Mine's up. I might have to order again. I feel if I get sick, I'll just take that stuff that they gave me, and I'm just trying to be healthy like that. But it's really hard because everybody's on you. Everybody. I'm going to Medjugorje. My wife are going to Medjugorje in September, and I'm the only one on the plane that's going to not have the shot. It's like so difficult. I have to go 72 hours to get have my, get tested, make sure I get tested there. And when I get there, I have to pay $280 or I don't even know how much it is. $200 and something, $50 or $75 or whatever it is, just to get the test to come back. And then when I get there, and then they have to pay again. Everyone has to pay $50 even if they had the shot. But my point is, I don't really care. I'll do what I have to do. to avoid this. So that's what I wanted to comment. And the gentleman before, I agree with him, but I do not agree with him about the Pope. I do agree that whatever the Pope does, that's between him and God. But he's the Pope. We have to pray for the Pope. You just have to pray for him and to make the right decisions. But, when somebody's doing something wrong, you might, would you say you hate the sin, but you love the sinner. I mean, we all sin, so you have to admonish the sin, but you have to pray for those who are sinning. And it's a tough thing. Anyway,
Right.
Sorry to talk so much.
No, you did great, Rocco. I think it was great. May I comment first, Jerry, just real quickly about, I think what you said was just really Christian, okay? And just hear me out on this for a second. I loved what you said. You're going to do what you feel is right for you, and you're making good choices, solid, responsible choices, and other people are doing their part. They're making their choices that's best for them. That's the thing that I think in this world, this is my personal opinion, I think we're losing it in that area, Rocco, and you kind of touched upon it a little bit, that it's getting a little difficult with people making comments or looks or just feeling odd. It feels odd. I think people need to just take a deep breath and realize people aren't trying to go out there and hurt other people, or definitely not kill other people by, just going out there and irresponsibly catching COVID. Everybody's trying to make sound, good decisions for themselves. And I think that is key. And I think we're in a world right now where we need to do that as Catholic Christians. We need to be solidly formed in the authentic Catholic faith. We need to live out our Catholic faith if that's what we say we are, we're Catholics. And then we need to make responsible decisions that pertain to our personal situation. Maybe some people are going through chemotherapy or going through something and they cannot get the vaccine. Maybe some people are immune to it. They took the antibody test, the antigen test. Okay, but we need to respect each other. We can't look at each other like everybody's trying to hurt one another. We need to say, you know what? Rocco did his due diligence. Rocco did his research. He did the right thing for him, and I respect that. And I think if we get back to that, we'll have a little bit more of a normal society. Right now, I think everybody's looking at each other like, who's the enemy, who's on what side. It's not good.
Right.
It's real, and it's dangerous, I think. What do you think, Rocco?
Absolutely. I mean, when I get in a situation where everyone is like, even my own household, they're on me, I just say, you know what? Just let me go for now, and let me think about it for a while. But then I have to call like my sister or my niece and my friends in New York or my friends around here that they haven't had it to get, somebody's on your side. They believe the same way you do. So it's a community. Then when I actually went to Fatima in New Jersey, our World Apostolate, and when I went there, they'd say, man, they feel the same way I do, so it's good. I went to Divine Mercy on Monday because I went to the christening over the weekend. I went to confessions there, and the priest was wonderful. And it just makes you feel so good. There are people out there that believe the same way I do. So, I mean, I pray for my daughter and my sons and my other kids. I pray for them all, and that's all I could do. And my wife, she thinks I should get it done, and I'm thinking I really want to do it, hon, But they're afraid for me, and I understand that. I know they care about me. They're afraid for me, but I'm thinking, I just feel like, what if I'm the one that gets the shot and dies from it? I mean, what are you going to say then? Oh, no, you're not. No, you're not. It's like, okay, whatever. So that's a rough thing. It's a rough situation, and I'm just praying to God that everything changes.
Yeah.
And no, I keep saying, and thy will be done too. We have to just rely on God. We, admonish the sinners, and when they're doing something wrong, tell them that they're doing it wrong, but then you love them. Like, I love you. That's it.
Right. Yeah, and Rocco, I appreciate all that you said, Debbie. That was very well stated. And I'll go back to the National Catholic Bioethics Center website, and they say they're very, very strongly saying that no one should be coerced into getting the vaccines. While I stated earlier what they said about the moral acceptability of doing so, but they say on their website, it is a profound good for people to take steps to protect themselves and the life of others from COVID-19. Immunization is one of the most effective ways to do so. But they say, based on guidance provided by the teaching authority of the church and sound principles of ethics, each person is called to careful, conscientious, and prudential discernment in deciding whether to take any COVID-19 vaccine or not. Then it goes on to say people should consider many relevant factors in this process of discernment. Like you said, Debbie, health vulnerabilities, theirs and those of others at home, work, or in the community, and other issues like that. So I appreciate your balance on this, Rocco, very much, because I agree with you, Debbie. We have to, we've lost civility, we've lost the art of being kind to one another, and hopefully that'll come back. But I just see it, maybe getting more and more. The divide is getting wider. It seems like, between people on different sides and different factions of this issue and so many others in the world today. So. Back to what you said, Rocco, thy will be done, and we need to rely on God and trust in his divine providence.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I'm going to give you a round of applause on that one. That was good. And Rocco, we agree with you about praying for the Pope and our church leaders and our clergy and our religious. We need to pray for them, folks. We need to surround them in prayer. Okay? They talk about being on the front lines of spiritual everything, coming at them, good, bad, and indifferent. I mean, it's all over the place. So we must pray for the Pope and for all clergy. I'm a firm believer of that. Rocco, God bless you. You have a strong spirit. We love that about you. Thank you so much. Call us anytime, okay?
Bless. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
833-288-3986. It is our In the News program. We do this once a month. And so we heard from Michael P. watching on YouTube. He says, in the news, the return of classical music and summer festivals.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he's looking forward to coming back.
Oh, I know. I love that. We have that in the town next to me. They have these beautiful classical concerts. Oh, it's so beautiful. Don't you love that with all the instruments? Do you ever go to any of those? Do you have those?
I have, yeah.
Because are they free in California? Because we have them all over the place.
Yeah. I think for the most part they are. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, cool. Very nice. Okay, where are we going?
We're going to go to Art in San Antonio, Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio Network. Hi, Art. Thanks for waiting on the line there. Welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for taking my call. The show you mentioned about what we use that we wanted to talk about, but actually, I haven't watched the news in a while because it's a lot of fear-mongering going on. It's a lot of fear-mongering, and I noticed so many people that have, like you said, Debbie, when you cough, people look at you and say, they look at you weird, like if you've got COVID or something. And I think that people are just scared. People are just scared. And I just want to tell everybody that, God didn't give you a spirit of fear. He did not do that. He gave you a spirit of bravery and valor, and for you to confront anything that comes up in your life with God in it, with God in your life. You can confront anything. There's so much misinformation out there about COVID and the vaccine that I really don't want to confuse anybody, but it's something that I don't see why they want to force us to take a vaccine. Like in some cities, like in New York City, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't go to the grocery store without showing your vaccination shot. Your proof of vaccination. Now, why are they doing that with this vaccine? I mean, wouldn't that be something if we force everybody to be a pro-life person? We can't do that, but they can certainly enforce us to take a vaccine that we don't know anything about. And by the way, the CDC, the WHO, and Pfizer, Moderna, all the manufacturers of the vaccine do not require their employees to take the vaccine. even the CEO of Pfizer is not fully vaccinated. So that kind of tells you a little bit about, or raises some eyebrows to see why they don't enforce it or why they haven't taken it. So, it's just so much confusion that we're going through right now. But I tell you what, if you pray and if you ask God to bring that spirit of valor that He gave us, it doesn't mean that we're going to go crazy and not use our social distance and not wash our hands. We have to be careful, but we cannot let this pandemic get in our lives to where we lose respect and we just don't care for our neighbor, and we're to where we're only watching out for ourselves.
Very well stated, Art. I'm going to jump in here. And I agree with you. I do not at all appreciate the full court press that is being put on everybody to receive the vaccine. I think it's a horrible overreach. I think not even the government should have that ability or that right to tell the citizens whether they should get it or not. I mean, think about the regular flu vaccine over the last how many decades. It hasn't been, there has not been this frenzy over anything that I can recall to get vaccinated. So I agree with you on that. And the fact that, the CEOs of some of these drug companies aren't even getting the vaccines. I remember watching on TV when Vice President Pence and Kamala Harris and some of these people went on and had this big showy, in the news, showing them video, showing them taking the vaccines and all. And I couldn't help, maybe I was wrong about this, but Debbie, I couldn't help but think, I wonder what's in those syringes. Is it just like, saline salt water? Is it, I don't know. I was a little bit skeptical of that even at that time. So, yeah, I think, I think Art is really taking a balanced approach here.
Yeah, I think you're making some really good points, Art. And Jerry, another round of applause for you today. Boy, you are on a roll and on fire, and everything you're saying.
Well, it's because you're back.
Thanks, thank you. But no, you're spot on, and I think we've got this mass confusion happening, and fear is setting in. And when you put those two things happening, and then like you said, Jerry, that full court press, I had that vision of basketball. Okay, when you're saying, and then you get this pressure, and you're thinking to yourself as you're sitting there, this doesn't feel right. Something feels off. Okay, and your instincts start getting heightened, and you're thinking, okay, this just feels creepy. What's everything that's happening? Well, that's when I think we've got to just, you take a deep breath, you pull back, you know what is true, you dive into scripture, you dive into your faith, and again you get fully formed in what you know of what is true. And our faith and our Catholic faith is the truth. And you have to march ahead somehow. And I just pray that people will kind of come out of the dust and the clouds and kind of get more of a clearer thinking so that we're not doing this to one another. I think, Jerry, what you said and what Art said, I think conversations like this, they have to, be done and had. And I think it's important. And the more we do this, we kind of elevate people out of that kind of that murky feeling, right?
I agree. Art, thank you for the call. We appreciate that. We've got several more that we want to try to get to here on our In the News show on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. And speaking of things that you might want to tune in for, I really would encourage you to check out the EWTN bookmark this Saturday afternoon at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I know many of you who listen to this program and others, you follow people like Father Jeffrey Kirby on social media and his videos and his homilies, which are outstanding. He's not afraid to preach the truth and challenge us to a better, holier way of life. And Doug Keck sits down with Father Jeffrey Kirby to discuss the priest's new book, Real Religion, How to Avoid False Faith and Worship God in Spirit and Truth. Again, that's Saturday afternoon, 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time on many of these same EWTN stations.
And just looking forward, tomorrow is our All About Relationships show. That is our monthly show where we talk any type of relationship, those wonderful close relationships we have, or work relationships or something like that, even our fellow parishioners. Any relationship is on the table. That's for tomorrow. So be thinking about that and call in, because we want to really just a fast and fun show for Friday going into the weekend. But let's get back to the phones. Matt in Albany, New York is waiting so patiently. Hi, Matt. Welcome. Hello, Matt.
Hello, Matt. Well, Debbie, you hit the nail on the head. Matt, you did wait a long time. We hope that you didn't hang up or were having phone connection problems. One more try, Matt. Are you there? Okay. Well.
Oh, that's
sorry
sad because he waited so long. Matt, if you want to call in tomorrow on the All About Relationships show, please do, because we feel bad that you waited almost the entire show.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there he is.
Hi. See, Matt, we stalled and you came about.
Double mute. Okay, hey, thanks for taking the call. Here in Albany, I do believe, a little background, I went through our Albany Diocesan Formation for Ministry program. I'm so proud of it. It was an early program years ago, and I've been in pastoral ministry, and I am so proud to be an extraordinary minister of the communion at our parish.
Beautiful.
However, when our bishop sent word that we are not to use the precious blood during communion, and we were to, just avoid that practice, there was good reason, I think. And I think there's very good reason for moving towards communion in the hand only. And if I were to be receiving communion behind the previous caller, Rocco, who called the vaccine evil, he shouldn't do that. Rocco, I hope you reconsider such language. But I get nervous when we receive on the tongue, and the protocol for not using the cup should be sufficient knowledge and science and prudence to suggest that we receive on the hand only. EWTN Broadcast Mass has a different philosophy. They have a feeling about it. There's no science to it. It's a feeling, and I don't like that feeling. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Matt, first of all, thank you for your service in the church at your parish as an extraordinary minister of Holy Communion. Appreciate that very much. I am not aware of anything that EWTN has said on their broadcast of daily or Sunday Mass, so I can't comment on that. But a lot of parishes, most parishes, in fact, I think, are probably not offering the precious blood right now, and that's probably a prudential judgment. The Church always has said, the communion on the tongue is fine, it's acceptable. Only communion in the hand is not even really all that old in the church. I'm not sure, Debbie, how long that. It's probably been the last several decades, but I just feel personally I like to receive communion on the tongue. I did for a time, for a period during the early part of the pandemic. I switched to receiving in the hand, but my preference is on the tongue, and a lot of people have that preference, and I think they should be allowed to do that.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say real quickly, Matt, I didn't hear Rocco make any comments about the anything being evil or anything like that. The gist of what I understood from Rocco's call is this idea that there's division and there's sides and there's people want the other person to be okay, so they kind of pressure that person. I want you to be healthy, so go in this direction. I go back to this though. I think, please, folks, go back to the catechism. Please get a catechism of the Catholic Church and start reading paragraph by paragraph by paragraph, maybe one paragraph a night when you're having dinner, and get fully formed in the faith, because that is what's going to sustain us and keep us going and get us out of this division and out of this fear and confusion, and make us focus on what truly is important. And Monsignor talked about it yesterday at my mother's funeral. That is what's truly important. We must focus on what we are journeying towards and what we are trying to attain, which is eternity. And I have to say it again. I think we're getting caught in the weeds, and we just have to get a clearer focus in all aspects and really understand our faith in a solid, authentic way. What do you think, Jerry? You're rubbing off on me.
Yeah, well, I don't know if Matt is still there. Did any of that resonate with you, Matt, or no? Okay, maybe Matt is not still there. Actually, I came across a very helpful article at EWTN.com, and what I did is I typed in "should we receive communion in the hand," and it's the 1 to 3rd result that came up. So I would encourage anyone, do a search for "should we receive communion in the hand." EWTN actually does have something very helpful on their website at EWTN.com in their faith library. So,
right.
Okay.
But you see, I think conversations like this are really helpful because it gets us to look at different perspectives. I mean, look at it, folks. We're all listening to EWTN, right? Because you're all listening right now and you're participating. And look, we even have differences of opinions. And see how that we have to have these healthy conversations so we can come to a better understanding of where everybody's come from is. I think it's super important. I'm so glad we're able to do this platform. We hope you are happy with it as well. Jerry?
Well, it's great to have you back, Debbie, and we continue to pray for your dear, beloved mother, Connie, who was laid to rest yesterday. Pierre in Maine, Anne in Florida. I'm sorry you hear that music. We're not going to have time, but as Debbie said, tomorrow is our monthly show all about relationships. So if you've got one that you would like to call in and discuss on the program, feel free to do that tomorrow.
Oh, I have one I want to talk about tomorrow, but I'm going to wait for tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to leave you in suspense.
Suspense, yeah, right.
That's our All About Relationships show tomorrow. Until then, have a beautiful and blessed day in the year of St. Joseph. We ask St. Joseph, please pray for us.
Divine Intimacy Radio.